We follow a girl through mud and mountain, across ocean and up into the sky.
We watched Princess Leonor of Spain do something rare among heirs to any throne in modern history. She didn't wait for power to come to her. She went out and earned it. But here's the question part one never fully answered. What happens when the training ends? What happens when you take off the military uniform, pack your bags, and walk through the doors of a regular university like any other 20-year-old? Except you're not like any other 20-year-old, because you are the future Queen of Spain. What happens when the cameras that followed you to sea, to the cockpit, to the parliament, keep following you? Not for a moment, not for a ceremony, but for the rest of your life. That's where this story gets really interesting. Because everything Leonor has been through, Wales, Zaragoza, the Atlantic crossing, San Javier, was preparation for something much harder than any of it. It was preparation for this. For the life she is about to begin. And for the question that is already being asked in every corner of Spain. Is she ready? Let's find out. Before we talk about where Leonor is going, we need to talk about something that happened on October 31, 2023, not inside the parliament but outside it. The streets of Madrid filled with people who had come simply to see her. Flags with her portrait lined the boulevards. Souvenir mugs, key rings, and commemorative coins, a special €40 coin had been issued for her 18th birthday, were selling out across the city. Television networks ran 24-hour coverage. And the media gave this moment a name. Leonormania. This was not manufactured. It was not a PR campaign. It was spontaneous, genuine public fascination with a young woman who had been, deliberately, kept out of the spotlight for years. Experts had a theory about why it happened. Fernando Rayon, a journalist and professor of political information at CEU San Pablo University, explained it simply. He said that because Leonor had been so reserved during her years of study, so absent from public life while she was in Wales, then in the military, the moment she re-emerged, the curiosity was overwhelming. People didn't know her. And that, paradoxically, was exactly why they wanted to. The numbers backed this up. A poll published in the Spanish newspaper El Español ranked Leonor as the most popular member of the entire royal family, surpassing even her father, King Felipe VI. Another survey gave her an approval rating of 8.1 out of 10, the highest of any royal in Spain. Among PSOE voters, the Socialist Party, generally not monarchist, she still scored a 7.8. Even among supporters of the far-left coalition Sumar, who openly campaigned for a republic, she managed a 4.4. Think about what that means. This is a country where polls have shown a near-even split between those who want a monarchy and those who want a republic. And yet Leonor, the face of that monarchy's future, was somehow managing to win over people who don't even believe in the institution she represents. How does that happen? The answer, we think, lies in a single moment. A moment that barely anyone talks about when they list Leonor's milestones, but that tells you more about her character than any ceremony. October 12, 2023. Spain's National Day. Leonor was attending the annual military parade with her family. She was in uniform. The occasion was formal, rigid with protocol. And then, along the parade route, a little girl, maybe 5 or 6 years old, reached out her hand. And Leonor, without hesitation, broke from the official formation. She crouched down to the child's level, took her hand, and smiled. It went viral within hours. Not because it was remarkable by normal human standards, but because it was so natural, so unplanned, so real. In a country still learning to trust its monarchy again after years of scandal, that 10-second moment told people something no speech or ceremony could. That the girl who would one day be their queen was a person. But here is the part of the story we cannot skip. Because to understand the weight Leonor carries, you have to understand what came before her. Her grandfather, King Juan Carlos I, was once one of the most beloved monarchs in Europe. He guided Spain through its transition from dictatorship to democracy after the death of General Francisco Franco. He was credited, rightly, with helping to save Spanish democracy during the failed military coup of 1981. He was a hero. And then the scandals came. An elephant hunting trip in Botswana, photographed while Spain was in the depths of an economic crisis, became a symbol of royal disconnect from ordinary people. Then came investigations into alleged financial irregularities in foreign business dealings. And then the exile. In 2020, Juan Carlos I left Spain for Abu Dhabi. Voluntarily. He has not returned to live in his country since. His absence was noted at Leonor's constitutional oath in 2023. The chair that might have held Spain's former king sat empty. And his shadow, the shadow of what a monarchy can become when it loses its moral authority, hung over that ceremony like an unspoken question. Can this family be trusted again? Leonor's father, King Felipe VI, has spent his entire reign trying to answer that question. He made his own financial information public. He stripped Juan Carlos of his royal allowance. He severed the formal ties between the crown and his father's legacy as best he could. But Leonor, when she becomes queen, will inherit not just the crown of Spain. She will inherit the reputation of the crown of Spain. She will inherit a nation that is divided, not along simple left-right lines, but along complex fault lines of region, identity, and trust. The boycott of her own constitutional oath by Catalan and Basque independence politicians was not just a political protest. It was a reminder that for millions of Spanish citizens, the crown does not represent them. One analyst called it perfectly. She doesn't just have to be a good queen. She has to be the queen who makes people believe in the idea of a queen again. That's what she's walking into. And here is what's extraordinary, she already seems to understand this. Not in a calculating way. Not in the way of someone following a PR strategy. In the way of someone who has actually thought about it. In her 2023 oath speech, Leonor didn't speak about tradition. She didn't speak about duty in abstract terms. She said, I ask you to trust me, as I have put all my trust in our future, in the future of Spain. She asked for trust. She didn't demand it. She didn't assume it. She asked for it. That's not the language of someone who thinks the crown is a given. That's the language of someone who understands they have to earn it. Every October, the city of Oviedo in northern Spain hosts what many consider the most prestigious awards ceremony on the continent. The Princess of Asturias Awards. 8 categories: the arts, sciences, communication, sport, literature, social sciences, international cooperation, and concord. The laureates over the years have included names like Stephen Hawking, Woody Allen, the UN Refugee Agency, and the people of Ukraine. For decades, the King of Spain presided over this ceremony. It was his platform, his moment, his annual address to the nation about values and culture and hope. But in 2025, something changed. King Felipe stood at the podium in Oviedo and announced he was stepping aside. He said he had been speaking from this stage for 44 years, the last 7 alongside his daughter, watching her gradually take on this role with growing maturity and sensitivity. And that the time had come to cede the floor to her. Princess Leonor took the podium alone. Not as a guest speaker. Not as a supporting act. As the principal voice of the evening. Think about what that handover means. The Princess of Asturias Awards are one of the most visible, globally respected platforms the Spanish crown has. To give that platform to your daughter, publicly, in front of the world, is not a ceremonial gesture. It's a statement. It says, she is ready. And watching Leonor deliver that address, composed, warm, precise, commanding a room full of the world's most accomplished people, it was hard to argue with the king's judgment. She has been attending this ceremony since she was a child. Her first speech from that stage came in 2019, when she was 13 years old. The cameras caught her grandparents and her parents watching her from their seats, eyes bright with something between pride and relief. By the time she was 17, she was hosting the ceremony as an adult for the first time, confident enough to stand before Nobel laureates and Olympians and speak without notes about the values she believed the awards represented. By 20, she owned the room. And here is the detail that keeps coming back to us. She met Meryl Streep at the 2023 ceremony. The actress was receiving the award for the arts. A photograph circulated afterward. Leonor and Streep standing side by side, Streep smiling broadly at the camera, Leonor turning slightly to look at her with an expression of open, genuine delight. It wasn't a royal face. It was a person's face. A person who, for one brief moment, forgot she was a future queen, and was just someone who got to meet Meryl Streep. In April 2026, the Spanish royal household made an announcement that set off a wave of excitement across Spain, and particularly across the campus of one specific university. Princess Leonor would be studying political science at Carlos III University in Getafe, a public university just south of Madrid, with no royal traditions and no special facilities for heirs to the throne. Just a campus, just classrooms, just other students. The Faculty of Social and Legal Sciences erupted, by all reports, within hours of the announcement. The 4-year degree program, covering political science, law, economics, sociology, history, and international relations, was set to begin in the autumn of 2026. She had competed for her place through the standard admissions process for students who completed secondary education abroad, the same pathway any student who had done the IB overseas would use. No special treatment. She passed the admissions committee on her own merits. And the choice of a public university was deeply meaningful. Her father, King Felipe VI, had studied law at the Autonomous University of Madrid before completing a master's degree in international relations at Georgetown University in Washington. He had access to some of the most prestigious institutions in the world. Leonor could have gone anywhere. She's going to a commuter campus in a suburb of Madrid, where students bring their own lunch and ride the metro to class. Why does that matter? Because it signals something about how she sees herself. Not separate from Spain, not elevated above it. In it, the same reports noted something else, that within the faculty, her professors and future classmates were already saying the same thing. They expected her to be treated like everyone else. No preferential seating, no separate entrance, just a student ID and a reading list. And if everything we've seen of Leonor suggests anything, she would have it no other way. She will, of course, carry security with her. That reality doesn't change. But there is something about Leonor, something visible in everything from that National Day moment with the little girl, to the way she spoke to her Navy peers, to the way she visibly lit up at Meryl Streep, that suggests she is determined to remain a human being, not just a symbol. In a world of royals who sometimes seem to exist behind glass, unreachable and unreal, Princess Leonor appears to be actively, stubbornly choosing otherwise. Let's talk about the phenomenon of Leonormania a little more seriously, because it deserves more than a catchy label. What does it actually mean that the most popular member of the Spanish royal family is a 20-year-old who has spent the last 3 years largely out of sight, in military barracks? The Spanish Center for Sociological Studies actually stopped asking citizens to rate the monarchy in 2015, the year after Felipe VI came to the throne, because the numbers had become politically sensitive. Support for the monarchy versus support for a republic was so finely balanced, and so politically charged, that the government-run pollster simply stepped back. That's the environment Leonor is stepping into. And yet, polling in 2024 showed 58.6% of Spaniards supporting the constitutional monarchy. Leonor personally scored 8.1 out of 10 across the general population. 63% of Spaniards, according to polling by El Mundo, believe she will make a good head of state. This is not accidental. Analysts who study the Spanish monarchy point to something specific about Leonor's appeal. She is what one expert described as a Generation Z, royal, instinctively attuned to the expectations of a generation that demands authenticity above all else. She doesn't curate a perfect image. She doesn't speak in press release language. When she described her naval experience, saying simply that the sea had strengthened in her the values of honor, valor, discipline, and loyalty, it wasn't a polished statement. It was the honest reflection of a young woman who had actually been through something hard. Young Spaniards see that. They respond to it. In a country where the previous generation of royals occasionally felt remote, entitled, or scandal-tainted, Leonor feels like something different. She feels like one of them. One political commentator framed it this way: Leonor is not trying to make the monarchy seem glamorous. She is trying to make it seem worthy. There's a difference. Glamour is about aspiration. Worthy is about trust. And in Spain, in 2026, trust is the only currency that matters. The comparisons were inevitable. From the moment Leonor stepped into public life in her white power suit, commentators reached for the obvious reference, Princess Diana. A young woman of extraordinary poise. A media sensation. A figure in whom a nation projects its hopes. And there are surface similarities, certainly. The cameras love Leonor in the way they loved Diana. The public fascination is real. The genuine warmth, the ability to connect with ordinary people in unscripted moments, is unmistakable.